am not a long-term thinker, long-term planner, which may sound a little strange because I'm a business coach and you'd think that that's something I would need to know to help my clients. But the reason is because of all the things that have happened in my life. And I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. My life is here for a reason. One of the first things that happened was we moved 8 times in the first 12 years of my life. So I never actually had a place that was long-term. I never had a situation that was long-term. So my dad would come home and say, "We're moving," every time I got a best friend. So, I know it's awful, isn't it? So, my sister, it was so normal for us that my sister Debbie would take my brother and I house to house and knock on the door and say, "I'm Debbie Roth, I'm 10. This is my sister Dee Dee, she's 7, and my brother David, he's 4. Do you have any kids our age we can play with?" And that's how we ended up in neighborhoods. So one of the things that I learned from that was how to make friends really fast, because I didn't know how long I was going to be anywhere in order to be able to actually feel like I fit in. So that I actually bring with me to my practice every day. I didn't realize it till I started doing this. So my entrepreneurial bug hit when I was about in 4th grade. I didn't just have a lemonade stand. I had a lemonade and candy business I was pretty proud of because I always was thinking of ways to make money. And then when I was around in 6th grade, we'd moved to another neighborhood by now, I decided to start a day camp for the neighborhood kids because why not? They had nothing to do and neither did I, and I needed money. So got my friends together, we did a day camp, it was a lot of fun, and it kept me busy and out of trouble, and it kept the parents without their kids for a couple of days a week. So everyone was happy. Then I go to middle school, and I'm walking home from school a lot with different kids who tell me their problems, and I solve them for them. So my mother says to me, "Why don't you see if they'll give you an office at the school so you can just have office hours with all of these kids?" And I thought, not a bad idea, probably won't happen. So I go to Michigan State, thinking I'm going to go into special ed, and remember, I'm not a long-term planner, so I realize that's not what I want to do, but I have no idea what I want to do. I know I'm not going to get into the business college because my grades aren't good enough, because attendance mattered in your grade. It wasn't that I didn't know the stuff. So I went wandering around looking for the criminal justice department and found the social science department, and they took all of my credits and applied them. So I graduated on time. But what do you do with a social science degree? I don't know, because I'm not a long-term planner. I wasn't really planning for my parents to get divorced when I was 19 or my mother to try and kill herself when I was 21. But those two things also had a direct impact on where I am right now, that I am here in Cleveland. Because I moved home to take care of my mom and just went to a temp agency and said, "Give me a job." And they did. And that job led to working full-time for that company in leadership. And I learned so much through my travels, working for different small businesses, seeing what was good in leadership and what was bad in leadership, and what were good sales practices and bad sales practices, and employee relations and client relations, and all of these things, and watching companies struggle or do really well depending on their leadership skills, that I developed a really good understanding of small business. So in late 2005, so I moved to Cleveland because one of the companies opened an office here. I met my husband, Frank, who's over there, and had 2 wonderful children. They're older now, but I thought that picture was cute. So they're adults now. But you know, we were living that life, right? We were living that sort of American dream. And then in late 2005, my father passed away very suddenly. And he and I were very close, but it was one of those life moments where I stopped and thought to myself, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I don't want to be the victim of someone else's decisions. I don't want to have the stress that we have working full-time and raising these 2 kids. So my sister suggested I become a marriage counselor, which I almost did, and my best friend told me I should be a life coach because I like telling people what to do. So I researched it and realized I should be a business coach. I had all of that knowledge, all of that experience. This is what I should be doing. So I took a class at night while my kids were sleeping, and I got certified as a business coach, learned how to start a practice, and started rolling it out, and was never really thought about it, right? Wasn't what I had planned, but I never really thought about it. I just did it because that's who I am. So I launched Seize This Day in early 2006 and started working with small business owners and salespeople, helping them make different decisions than they could, they were making on their own, and really helping them out. And when I made that decision to leave a full-time job with security and all that stuff, if you had told me a month before my father passed away that I would have that I'd be writing books, public speaking, hosting a podcast, traveling around the country, I would have told you you were insane. But not me. I don't do that kind of thing. That's not me. I like security. And yet there I was doing all of those things. And when I think about all the things I ever went through in my life, all the moving and the nurturing my friends and working in small business and management and sales and all of that, all of those dots connect. To get me here to Cleveland, actually to Lakewood, which is the kind of place I always did want to live, so that I could be working with those small business owners, living in this wonderful family in my great white house with my dog and my cat and my husband and my kids, and helping small business owners every single day be successful.
Okay, there once was this little frog named Kermit who boldly stated, "It's not easy being green." Well, I have to disagree with Sir Kermit and kick off tonight's presentation with the idea that it's very easy being green. To be more specific, to be chartreuse. Some people might think chartreuse is hot pink or a shade of orange. Believe me, I've heard it all. Chartreuse is a clear light green with a yellowish tinge hue. A strong, brilliant greenish yellow to a moderate, strong yellowish green. The Chartreuse Mountains is a range in eastern France. It is the southernmost range in the Jura Mountains and belongs to the French Prealps. Located in the mountains is the Grand Chartreuse, the head monastery of the Carthusian order of monks. Today, visitors and cars are not permitted at the Grand Chartreuse or on the surrounding roads. Chartreuse is also a French liqueur made by those Carthusian monks. Popular since the 1740s, it is comprised of distilled alcohol aged with over 130 herbal extracts. Do you remember those chartreuse appliances? Like the ones that your great aunt had? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Today you will find the color chartreuse used in everything from many high fashion interior projects to small decorative objects at Target. In Lakewood, nestled on the corner between Madison and McKinley, lies a boutique design firm called Studio Chartreuse. The studio, renovated in 2006, is a destination for creatives and clients looking for a clean, modern place to work and make great work. The open floor plan of the space allows for free-flow brainstorming and creative conversation. Adjacent to the studio is the Chartreuse Secret Garden, otherwise known as the Petite Park. When we moved into the new studio, the side lot was filled with little life other than weeds and broken glass. But after partnering with a landscape designer, the bit of outdoors took shape and grew into the space we now call home. At Chartreuse, we are made up of 4 female designers, myself, Caroline Hayes, Allie Forbes, and Amber Dent. We work as a team on every project, all of us having client contact and the opportunity to add something to every design challenge presented. As creative individuals, we are very different, but when we come together, we blend our unique personalities for great creative. At our studio, we work with small businesses all the way to companies residing on the Fortune 500 list. In some cases, we partner with large creative departments, while in other cases, we act as our client's entire marketing and design department. Tonight, to share with you some of our creative client partners, I have brought along some examples of our branding work for local businesses and organizations as well as 4 larger design initiatives for your review. That's inside of our office. From restaurants and yoga studios, from events to nonprofits, from anniversary marks to new city branding, we've had the privilege to be part of many new brand development initiatives throughout Northeast Ohio. Take a look. You might even recognize a few. So the first one I'm going to talk about tonight is the Nature Center at Shaker Lakes. The Nature Center came to us to take their existing brand and give it a bit of a makeover. They wanted to keep the blue heron as part of the mark, but to elevate it to a more modern, youthful identity. During the branding process, a series of small animals, birds, insects were hand-drawn, and from there, a strong new family of logos can now be seen around the center. From the initial logo development, the Nature Center has engaged us to develop signage, event-specific design needs, camp t-shirts, quarterly newsletters, stickers, and the list goes on and on. We couldn't have asked for a better partner in design than the Nature Center. The second examples I'm going to share are for the Cleveland Museum of Art. We've had the opportunity to partner with many departments at the museum, but 2 of our favorites are the Education and the Children's Programming Department. We've designed infographics to promote engaging community, designed t-shirts to promote summer happenings, as well as an entire membership program specifically for children. Over 2 years ago, the museum came to us with a need of high-end invitation work. They host many events for their funders and wanted to elevate the invitations. Through the use of sophisticated paper, printing techniques, high-quality images, and hand calligraphy, the museum has seen a spike in attendance, likely because of the buzz, because of the invitations. Ritzman Pharmacy, based out of Wadsworth, Ohio, came to us to help elevate them from 1970s logo to a more relevant, contemporary look and feel. The new mark is reflective of their mission, pioneering vintage care, a pharmacy destination where you can have a relationship with your caregivers. Once the new Ritzman mark was created, we rolled out the campaign through signage and advertising. We redesigned their private label supplement packaging, actual store interiors, created photo styling and art direction for custom photography, as well as a series of internal logos, to name just a few things. Studio Chartreuse is a fun, first and foremost place to work. We enjoy our jobs and feel lucky, right ladies, that we get to walk through our doors every morning and get paid to make creative work and effective design. When the city of Lakewood put out the public request for art submissions for the new Rosewood Avenue mural, we couldn't resist but to submit something reflective of our studio. The mural is called Graphic Positivity, and we like to think of it as a place where city residents can go to feel love, happy, and playful. We are so thankful to our partnership with the city of Lakewood and Lakewood Sherwin-Williams for all the advice and the encouragement it took to complete the painting on the street. The project took over 150 man hours and 75 gallons of paint. I want to thank the Chamber for asking me to be involved with tonight's event. I hope you walk away with a little bit more knowledge about Chartreuse. The other day I got this fortune, and I think it may just be the best one I've ever received, so I wanted to share it with you. The real secret to success is enthusiasm. I couldn't agree more. Thank you.
How you doing, everybody? My name's Tim Hayes, founder of Cardboard Helicopter Product Design. It's about 100 feet away. The name came from when I was young. The first time I can remember using my imagination as a child. My friend thought I was crazy. I said I was going to get this cardboard helicopter to fly, and it never flew, but I said, it's going to fly. And I've been hustling my whole life. These are examples of, I've been selling pizzas, I've been selling food, I've been selling candy, everything my entire life. Newspapers, I've been delivering them. Cutting lawns, it's in my blood, entrepreneurship. I sold cell phones out of my backpack for a company. I went to the Cleveland Institute of Art for Industrial Design. My parents told me I was crazy. Am I going to draw people on the side of the street? I designed everything from transportation to consumer products to toys for the largest companies on the planet. It was one of the most enjoyable parts of my life. And that's the new building. I was in an old, grabby building. I worked at all these different companies on here. I designed the most innovative products for Procter & Gamble, Fisher-Price, ESPN, Pop Secret, Dove, everything from bottles to innovative toys. I worked at Fisher-Price designing Power Wheels. It's one of the coolest things I've ever done. I designed tractors. I designed product for Zippo. I designed stuff for Axe. These are some of the examples, some of the most highest selling products, beating John Deere tractors. I worked at MTD for years. Power Wheels. I designed the interior of the Humvee 2020 to help the United States Army with safety and help protect our United States Army's lives with IEDs. This is a product I invented. This is what got the start of Cargo Helicopter. I was on the HBO and Sundance Channel. I developed the product. Slide-off skewers. I got $10,000 from them initially. I invested all in the company in a 3D printer and a laptop and a Cintiq tablet. I invested all that in the company. The product itself, it's a slide-off skewer. They made it out of material I told them not to do. And it melted on every green egg, every Weber grill. And that wasn't really good. It was in all these big stores, end caps. I said baked ceramic. They made it out of plastic. And real simple. This is the metal product. Finally they made it out of the right stuff. Every Home Depot, my face is on the side of it. Made a lot of money, invested it into the company. They did it right. The company went bankrupt because they didn't listen to people like me, and they started making stuff too fast. And that's what happens. It's all about the process, and you got to do it the right way. And that's what I learned. This is my company right here, Cargo Helicopter in Lakewood. Sean Berry, Carla Russo, they're not here tonight. One's got a baby, one's got to do something. I've known them since 6th grade. They're awesome. They're the smartest people I know. I can't believe they believe in my craziness. And they've been invested with my company for 4 years. They're freaking awesome. And they're freaking geniuses. I can't believe they're believing in this. We're right next door. We got a cool man cave. We have women too. We develop awesome products. We play pool. We play ping pong. We work hard. We play hard. We develop awesome stuff for big companies. We develop our own products that license and innovate for royalties. We have fun. We were born here. We're staying here. We do everything from dog products to heaters to knives to wine coolers, everything. We design the entire process from the ground up, all the way to final manufacturing for these products, for these companies, from startups all the way to Fortune 500 companies. These companies, everything from free to baby, some of these up and coming baby companies, Crayola comes to us to develop the 2020, 2021 future of their brands. We develop everything for them. All ranging from Easy Dog in Australia. We'll develop everything. They'd say, where do we go? We create concepts all the way to the future of what they're doing. Bravo in California, we design their entire bike line, scooters that go into Target, Walmart. We create the initial concepts, market research, why people want these, why kids want these, why do kids want to ride these, what's the trends. We design all the way to the full CAD, the full product, so they can go to China, and we work with them to create these products so kids want them on the Christmas list. Splash Infuser. This is a product we manufactured ourselves, and we realized, why are we making things in marketing and selling? We're creatives. Why are we doing this? We did a Kickstarter. It was cool, but we never want to do it again. Don't ever do a Kickstarter. It sucks. Splash Infuser is cool, though. We're going into a lot of big stores. We're going into World Market, Walmart, everything. We made this in the USA because we don't make stuff in China, at least ourselves. And we developed from the ground up, and we realized, let's focus on creative and licensing out our ideas. Stop doing business products and let's make some awesome products and just sell it off to companies. We did these critter lights for a company down in Jacksonville, Florida. They came to us, hey, we need all these animals and we have no idea how to make these. We designed in 2 months the entire design of these things, manufacturable with LED lights inside of them where you push them to make a cool little animal noise, and they're in every pet store and Walmart. It's one of the coolest products ever. Triceratops. We licensed this product. Everyone said we're crazy. They weren't going to make it. 100,000 units. We're making a 10-product line out of this. It's going to be 1 million units. It's going to be one of the biggest products ever. Amazon #1 bestseller. We're doing Nachosaurus. We're doing T-Rex taco holder. We're doing hot dog brontosaurus. Watch other stuff. This is all over the world. Australia. You go to Germany. You go to U.S. People buying our products. We have our own meme of the Triceratops. It's crazy. It's awesome. Everyone told my business partner, you're crazy. No, it's a Triceratops. How can people love tacos? People love dinosaurs. We know. We know that. Like, how do you not know that people love that? Poly Pineapple. My wife helped design the branding. We designed this for a startup in Atlanta. We designed all different types of concepts. When you buy one of these, you feed an American child 20 meals, and it's a little teether that it's my daughter Olivia. It's perfect timing. She's teething. I think she has 2 teeth now. And it's awesome. That's her right now. She's in the cargo helicopter. Our future, where we're going, we're going to develop products that are fun only. We're going to develop toys, baby products to help the mom. And we're going to do the what if, like cargo helicopter always is. We're going to develop the best products in the world, and we're going to make products that people love. And that's cargo helicopter. Thank you.
This is me in 1955. I lived with my mom and my dad and my older sister and my grandmother in a small three-bedroom apartment in South Euclid, Ohio. And I went to Catholic school when it was $5 a year. This is the Telling Mansion. It's the first library that I attended during my grade school years. It is no longer a library. It is a historic site in South Euclid, and it moved to South Green Road in the last couple of years. There will be a trend to the buildings that I have dealt with. This is Regina High School, where I attended in 1963 to 1967. Those were the years of much turmoil in the United States. 3 months into my freshman year, Kennedy was shot. We had just watched Camelot, a play that we had put on. This is the college I attended, College of Mount St. Joseph in Cincinnati, Ohio, a women's college. It was up on a hill in Delhi, Ohio. When I went there, we had to be in by 9 o'clock. When I left 4 years later, we had unlimited hours. It is no longer College of Mount St. Joseph. It's the College of the University of Mount St. Joseph. This is when I graduated. I got a degree in teaching, and I taught at Margaret A. Ireland in Cleveland Public Schools, pre-busing, so I'm kind of old. I married my husband Richard in 1974, January of 1974. We were filled with hopes and dreams. We were two East Siders who settled in western Cleveland. In 1977, I went home from teaching because that's what we did. There was a number of us teaching. We went home to raise our babies. But then reality set in. My husband was laid off, and I have to make ends meet, and I even delivered the Wall Street Journal at 4 a.m. in the morning. It's nice and quiet at 4 a.m. in the morning, but your baby's in the back seat with you. It's not. In 1976, we purchased our first house in Lakewood, Ohio. We were not meant to be landlords. The house now is 102 years old, and it has survived a fire, and we are still there. In 1982, I ended up getting a job at this site. You might recognize this site. This is the Social Security office. But I didn't work at the Social Security office. I worked at the Lakewood Christian Church, which housed the Lakewood Nursery School. The church is torn down, and we had a little red van that transported children from Lakewood to Rocky River. On a whim, I went into the main library in 1989, and I asked Kay Hammond and Jill Burke if they were hiring. They were. I began my career at Lakewood Public Library in 1989. I spent 3 months at Main Library and was sent to the branch in 1990. From 90 to 93, I was fast-tracked to the branch manager. This is a quilt that hangs in the branch now. It was handmade by Alice Bader, and she has 3 other quilts. It depicts the Madison Park area. This is a picture of my family now grown. We had moved downstairs in our house. We had a 2-family home. We've lived in all 4s. But that works out well in Lakewood when you're getting older. The bathroom's on the 1st floor. This is my husband and I in 2001. He let me become Mrs. G. He was my strong behind me. And this is the year we started homework help. Andrea mentioned homework help. We've been doing homework help at the library since 2001. We don't get much plan for that in the newspaper, but we've been doing it. These are my children, Sarah and Math, right before they left the nest. One for Atlanta and one for California. They didn't like Lakewood, I guess. They do, though. This is, oops, okay. Sorry. Sorry about that. All right, in 2008, Main Library opened up, and half my staff was taken to work at the main library because they extended their hours. Our focus at the branch had become customer service, and my boss, Kim Paris, at the time told me I needed a rest. Well, here I am 9 years later, still working. I guess I had to refocus. This is the Friends of the Madison Park that opened up a playground at in the park, thanks to the city. This is right behind the library, next to the pool. So it's a busy little place after school when you have a park and a pool. This is the community garden that Dan Slife got a grant for, and then he left it to me. Wasn't he a nice young man? So now I have a library, a playground, and a park. Okay, in my spare time at the library. This is Tom Mahal, we don't know what we call him. He's painter extraordinaire. When Tom retired, he came to work for us, and this is what we began our renovation. We're in the process of slowly renovating the branch. So he's our painter, and he was painting the ceilings. We got painting and lights. This is the last picture, a good picture of my husband and I. He was a proud Vietnam vet, and I lost him last year on April 1st, 2016. Even at 4 in the morning, he'd say to me, "Where are you going?" I said, "There's an alarm at the library. I got to go check on the alarm." This is my staff, and there's an extra one that's not there. They have got me through the last 17 months of my loss, but they are with me together, and we'll see whatever comes to the Madison branch. Thank you very much.
Thank you for letting me share who we are. We are a family-owned bakery, and we're located in a really cool building that was built for the Wintrick family back in the 1880s, where they ran their family floral business. We are actually right across the street from St. Ed's, and we are less than a half a mile from where we live. We specialize in custom cakes, wedding cakes. We also offer baked goods, including cupcakes, brownies, bars, and our latest hot addition is the French macaron. We also serve smoothies, have a full coffee bar where you can now sit in our recently remodeled cafe area. So where did all this passion for having a bakery come from? It started a long time ago in the early 80s when I stayed home sick from school one day. We had just got a television with a remote control, and I was flipping through looking for something to watch and found this zany lady who had her own talk show. This is before Oprah Winfrey. Her name was Tammy Faye Baker. And that day in particular, she had a guest that decorated a cake that looked like a piano. It was very sloppy, and all they were doing was being silly eating frosting. But I absolutely fell in love with this craft. I begged my mom and dad to drive me to JCPenney's to take cake lessons so I could start nurturing this passion. You see, my mom she's Slovak and Slovenian heritage, and she is an excellent baker and cook, and she loved to be in the kitchen, and I love to be there too. After all the years of my mom baking our favorite desserts for our special occasions, it was time to make some room in the kitchen for someone with a fierce sweet tooth. At last, I had created a birthday cake that was for my aunt and worthy of sharing. My family has always been so gracious and supportive and willing to help eat my creations and keep cheering me on. I would even share my baking love with school projects and presentations. No one ever got bored with the passion because they always knew there was a good treat at the end. When I was in high school, I decided to go the vocational route and take a secretarial class. I learned some interesting things in there. I learned I was pretty good at organizing, I was good at punctuation, I learned I didn't like dictation, and I also learned I made the best desserts for our potluck parties. And after 2 years, I learned I did not want to sit at a desk all day and work hard for someone else. After high school, my dad and I were at a cake supply shop, and they were hiring, and my dad encouraged me to fill out the application, and I got my dream job. I loved it, and I learned a ton there. They treated me like a daughter, but I knew I wanted my own business. In 1990, I made a decision that I would go to cooking school. Back then, that wasn't such a popular thing to do. This was way before the Food Network, before it was cool. We took a family vacation to Baltimore to visit the school I was interested in. There was one thing making it difficult to leave and go there, or so I thought it was one thing. Just days after returning from that trip, my whole universe shifted. My dream of a cooking school and opening my own shop was gone, and I found out that the most important job in my life was about to begin. Dan and I were going to have a baby, and big changes were ahead. And what I thought was the worst mistake turned out to be one of our best lessons. I was determined to make this work, and as our family grew and time went on, I was able to be home raising our children. I continued working on the business, selling cakes from home, and our children became helpers. They thought it was normal to have a dining room full of bun racks and cakes everywhere. But as our kids got older and busier, so did the business, and it was out of control. I couldn't keep up with the vacuuming, dog hair, and clearing a path of toys for the customers to pick up their orders. There was no more balance, and something had to change, and I was burning out, and I quit. I sold almost all my supplies and gave up all my customers. But I knew I still had to make money to help with the family. I decided to do something very out of character. I was presented an interesting opportunity. I decided to do something that would take me out of the house and still allow me and get me away from the mess, but I still could be a boss. I decided to sell lipstick with Mary Kay, and it was the divine part of the whole story. I learned some things that I was never taught in school. I learned to dream and believe in myself. I learned to look fear in the face and do what scared me the most. I learned about running a business. I learned that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day again. And most of all, I learned that I could put my faith first, my family second, and my career third in that order. My dream of owning a cake shop was never going away. My husband and I and my family rallied together, and we decided we were doing it. But where would be the perfect spot? And when would it be a good time for Mom to leave? So we had to do our research. It was hard, but we had to go to all those bakeries and plan. In 2011, we found the perfect spot, but boy, did it need a lot of work. A team of contractors, including my husband and I, worked very hard to transform the greenhouse into a food-ready facility. I would throw cakes in the oven, run to the shop, throw up some drywall, come back, take the cakes out of the oven. But we did it. In July of 2012, the dream had become a reality. We had our small little team together, our family, and we were ready for opening day, sort of. We barely had containers we didn't even know if we should sell cupcakes. But seeing the smiles on our new customers' faces made it worth all the hard work to get there. Speaking of family, that little surprise that I thought ended my dream back in 1990 has become the backbone of our business. She and her best friend have been working with me since we were working out of the home. My parents, my family has helped me with everything from building the shop, sales, construction, deliveries, you name it. So it turns out that even though after it took almost 30 years for my dream of opening a shop to come true, it was all in God's time and plan. I don't think I would change any of the paths that it took to get here. Over the past years, I have had the privilege of working with a group of passionate and dedicated employees, which are like family to us. We all share the same common goal. To us, baking is love. We love sharing our passion and seeing the joy it brings to our customers. Whether it's a simple pastry or making them a celebration cake, we love our customers and we love making their days extra sweet. Thank you.
So you see from this picture, it's going to be a pretty exciting presentation, right? Wall Street? Not so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Ann Strake. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at First Federal Lakewood. And this is so not about Wall Street as much as it is how my fashion choices shape my career. I'm serious. Remember the movie Wall Street? Yeah, this is what I thought banking was all about. Kind of sexy, super fast-paced, deal-making, New York-based, right? I couldn't imagine what was in front of me. In fact, I really personally wanted banking to look a lot like some of our favorite shows. Instead, it turned out to be more like this. Remember the movie Office Space, right? So we as a cohort, I gotta tell you, we are paper-pushing, memo-writing, cubicle people who love acting like a dysfunctional family, and at the end of the day, we covet offices and really want to be in corner suites. So some disclaimers really quickly. First of all photos are courtesy of Google. I am not a fashion expert, and best work is from Dalton and Thompson. So they're going to walk us through the career stages of every professional that correlate to my story. And here they are, really quickly. First phase, for every career person, you got to be a helper learner, right? You can't know a culture without going through it. Second phase, you got to know how to contribute individually. These are top salespeople, top people in their craft. Third stage, contributing through others, your coaches, your mentors, your managers. And finally, at the fourth stage, if you pass all of those hurdles, you get to be the visionary. But first, you got to conform in fashion. First thing I learned about that helper-learner phase, by the way, is in order to be heard, you had to fit in. This is the phase that everybody seems to miss, particularly young people. And in the 90s, it looked like this. No kidding, this is right out of the employee handbook. The requirement, I swear to God, is that women had to wear skirted matching suits, 2.5-inch heels, hosiery that was either nude or white, and you had to have appropriate hair. I think I struck out on all four. But truth be told, it led you to the second phase. And this is where I became my own man. Now, work with me here a little bit. In order to be successful in financial services, who did I need to look more like? And I had the perfect vehicle to do that, and that was called the Power Pantsuit. So if you remember, that Power Pantsuit that debuted in the 90s to the 2000s, right? Super helpful. I could walk through company floors, I could visit firms, I could visit operations teams, take off that jacket, be one of the gals, then throw that jacket back on, go into the C-suite, and then when I'm done with that, my kids that had Cheerios all around me would simply hug me, and I'd just shake it off, and it's ready for the next day. And by the way, this was the era of props. Props are pretty important in banking. Everybody needs one. In this phase, I used glasses. Why do you think I used glasses? I wanted to be old, I wanted to be credible, right? And I wanted to be understood. And by the way, I could move them up and down on my face. Swear to God, there I am. And this is what happened, right? People were able to hear me. This was the age of coming into my own. So that next transition point, I was ready for it because I was younger than most people that I was managing. And that next phase, I had to worry about being an example. That's the toughest transition, and let me tell you why. Both in fashion and in careers, you have to transition or make a decision to move away from individual contribution and move right into managing people. It's pretty hard, right? I'll call it the gap, as it were. No pun intended. Of course there's a pun intended. This is really hard. So in order to become an example, I had to learn to be more flexible. Welcome the era of separates. Ladies and gentlemen, this is when we started to relax in business, right? No more matching suits, you could introduce some color, and before you know it, if I was comfortable, my team started to understand how to be comfortable. It made me highly effective. Despite all that color, you know, I stuck to one principle, really simple dressing, which is black, gray, and blue. Why? Because I was terrible with coffee. No kidding. Put me in a conference room, put me in a car or both in one day, and you can guarantee something bad was going to happen. This was the advent of social media. I only put this up here because in stage 3 in my career, this was pretty important. The melding of your personal and professional personas all in Google, and most people still don't have it down pat. You got to nail it at stage 3 because at the end of the day, people are always watching, right? Now you would think that as I enter into stage 4, this is the pinnacle, right? I have it all together, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to tell you a secret. This is the phase where no one cares, including you. So you can be a sponsor strategist and people aren't looking at you anymore for your fashion. What they're looking for is what you're going to say and what you're going to put out there as an example. This is the phase of becoming me. This is also the phase of business appropriate. Heard that term? Pretty much anything goes as long as you know where you're supposed to be and at what time. This was highly effective for my phase, right? Because now I got to be a person that set the policy and was able to set the business practice. It was pretty important. So this was the era of embracing both your feminine and your masculine tendencies, right? We all have them. And it was the age at which I was trying to look younger. So I grew my hair. I kept the most important appointment in my book, which was with my hairdresser. And I made an appointment at the Cole Eye Clinic and ditched the glasses. What I learned, number one, have the right role model. It's not Barbie. Number two, right? You absolutely have to be ready for work. You can't be disheveled. Number three, you absolutely have to be yourself and pick the right hemline and loosen the fit a little bit to make it through stage 4. I am going to tell you something. You may not think this is an important career lesson, but it certainly was for me, and there's no chance that I could be the person that I was, uniformed like I was, if I didn't learn how to be comfortable in my own skin. Thank you very much.
I must begin by sharing with you my history. These experiences, along with my relationships, have established my framework as a man, father, and as an educator. My journey and experiences like yours have helped navigate me to stand here amongst you and share with you all my life. It is my goal to be transparent, and my goal begins 8,000 miles away in Southeast Africa in a country called Malawi. The people in Malawi are strong, they're resourceful, they're beautiful. However, it is very sad to see families, especially children, wishing for simple things like clean water to drink, food to eat, or an education. Malawi is also considered one of the poorest countries in the world, with the majority of its population surviving on only $1.25 a day. Yet we are known for our kindness, our generosity. We're either singing, we're smiling, or we're dancing. These impoverished conditions don't affect our spirit. We are generous when we have very little. If you go to a Malawian home, they'll give you a meal. And when you leave their home, they'll thank you by giving you a chicken. You see, we may be poor, but we survive because of our communal upbringing, where that African proverb holds so true in each Malawian, that it does take a village to raise a child, where our elders growing up focused on values that couldn't be quantified in dollars, and were taught early at a young age to care and to share and to give when you can. These were all values that were reinforced by my parents, Ruxana and Eunice. It is because of their encouragement, their support, and their love and their guidance has my life and those of many others flourished. And I am a blend of both of these folks, of course, besides the good looks. My father, a bit of a renegade, untroubled. My mother, the voice of reason. We grew up poor in Malawi, and this was evident by the color of our baby bottles, stained. You see, my folks were so poor that my sister and I were given tea to supplement. Growing up in Malawi, we had limited resources. We had no running water. We had no electricity. But these were all lessons that place things in perspective, to focus on what matters. Lessons that I continued to learn as I spent most of my childhood with my grandparents in the village of Lintipe. These were fond memories of me hunting birds with catapults, chasing goats, chickens. My grandparents were passionate, caring individuals that would give their lives up for others. And actually, my grandfather did give up his life. He died in a fire trying to save people. But these were all lessons that prepared our family as we transitioned in 1992, and our family moved. And you see, we were coming to America. You see, years back, my father befriended a Peace Corps volunteer and came to Ohio. But unlike the original Prince Hakeem, I was no prince, nor was I coming here to find a bride, but to be exposed to an education. We were taught early that an education could open the doors to opportunities, not only for me, but for others. So, I was a bored student. I was a lazy student, some may say, but I was able to attend St. Edward High School. I learned a lot about being resilient and embracing differences at St. Ed's. And as an African Muslim and with limited English, I had my struggles, I had my difficulties, but again, my parents were there to support me, to guide me, to encourage me. And with that support and their encouragement, I was able to graduate from John Carroll University. But prior to John Carroll, I played soccer at Cleveland State University. I spent 2 very, very fun semesters that I cannot talk about, but they were fun. But I couldn't believe, though, a poor African boy like me could get a college degree from a Jesuit school. That was then that I knew that anything could be possible, that anybody could be president. And we know that now, right? So not wanting to be trumped, after John Carroll, I joined the Peace Corps, and I was a volunteer in West Africa in a country called Burkina Faso. And in Burkina, we educated locals on HIV/AIDS and guinea worm eradication. And this was also the first time that I had teaching 5- and 6-year-olds English. After the Peace Corps, I returned home, and my son Isaiah was born. And his birth really changed me, really transformed me, really forced me to grow up from a boy into a man. And as a new parent, I needed support and guidance. My parents were there to support me, to encourage me, but most importantly, to hold me accountable. And we can't forget my little queen, my little princess Nandi, named after my great-great-grandparents of Zulu origin. These two are my blessings. I continued my education, receiving my graduate degrees from Cleveland State University, and also began teaching in Cleveland as an intervention specialist and then as an assistant principal at John Marshall High School. To help students succeed in Cleveland, reinforce that it doesn't matter how much money you have or where you come from. If you have passionate, caring individuals, students will be successful. I then continued my career at Lakewood High School, the place that has embraced me, that has welcomed me, that has allowed me to grow and to learn from passionate, caring individuals. And I want to say something about Lakewood. This place is truly amazing. It encompasses everything that I'm passionate about, people from all walks of life in one community. I returned to Malawi in 2011 with my son Isaiah, and this trip to Malawi was a very emotional return for me. Not only was I sharing my story with my son, but most importantly, we were creating our own stories. But those impoverished conditions of Malawi left us wanting to make a difference, wanting to make a change. So we need to do something about it. So it was in 2013 I founded Nazi Children's Services, a 501c3 looking to improve the lives of children and families in Malawi. And Nazi itself is a simple name. It's a combination of my kid's name, my daughter Nandi and my son Isaiah. And we were able to identify 3 areas to support and improve the lives of Malawians: to provide access to clean water and improve sanitation, to provide access to education, and to provide chickens, goats, livestock. To date, Nazi operates a nursery school. We provide early literacy foundation to children under 6. In addition, we also grow crops to provide grain to the community. We also have a health clinic which the government of Malawi uses to provide welfare checks. We also have helped construct water wells and have given goats and chickens to the communities in Malawi. Now, most recently, we're very excited to say that we've built a primary school. No longer will 300 kids in the village of Chikwasa have to walk 7 kilometers one way. That's 14 kilometers, about 8 miles a day to get an education. These kids will get an education in the community. But even though this is a small accomplishment, our job isn't done. We need to build more classrooms because we have hundreds of kids that need help. So what is our goal in Malawi? Our goal in Malawi is to increase access to education and to provide opportunities, the same opportunities that you and I have. You know, folks, we are lucky to be here to have choices like which meals we have, which schools we send our children. So this is why we need to continue to educate our kids that they must be successful not only for themselves but for others. And if somebody asked me, Yakub, where would your life be 20 years from now? I promise you wouldn't be here talking to you about my journey and my story and my life. And this is why this whole process of Pichachka has literally allowed me to pause, to think, and to reflect that, you know what, it takes more than just one person to be successful. It takes a whole village like it is in Africa. So for that, I thank you.
We've all been there before. You pour your heart and your soul into something only to have it taken away too soon. We all know that in life things don't always go our way. But it's those moments when we went for something big and it didn't work out that help define who we are. Here in Cleveland, we've had no shortage of developments that were supposed to catalyze a new era of success, but that never quite worked out. And tonight I'm to convince you that it's those moments when projects got away from us, but that really define who we are today and who we're going to be in the future. So I moved here in 2005 to work on a master plan for the Flats East Bank neighborhood. And since that moment of what I consider extreme fortune, I had the chance to work on some really special projects, including projects that, despite enormous effort and passion, never went anywhere. And today I'm here to talk to you not about my successful projects, but the ones that went absolutely nowhere. So in 2010, a group of biologists, zoologists, and marine species planners and designers from all over the world got together to talk about what it would mean to create an aquarium here in Cleveland. We were a major metropolitan city on one of the world's largest freshwater bodies who had no institution that focused on the world's most precious resource. It was really amazing to be a part of the process. We weren't just talking about architecture. There were aquarium specialists talking about institutional planning and what's the right organizational model and funding model for creating a cultural institution. At the same time, we were talking about how you could design an institution that would fit into a neighborhood, how it could drive activity in a way that supported the neighborhood and didn't just kind of consume it. If you think about like Wrigley Field in Chicago, it's a really amazing institution in that neighborhood, but sometimes it gets a little crazy. So how do you really incorporate that into the neighborhood? The one thing the project didn't have going for it was timing. As we reached this point in the project, we had an organizational model that worked, we had educational and conservation partners, and a building we fell in love with. But the aquarium on the west bank of the flats had financing, and we didn't yet. And so the project didn't go forward. The next project, that's not depressing, I'll get better, I promise. The next project I want to talk about, I think this was on everyone's radar. 2007, the city's trying to figure out what to do with this little Cleveland company that wanted to have a new headquarters. But it really wasn't the city's deal. You know, there were 4 or 5 developers that all put together sites and competed to try to attract Eaton. It was 2007 when the developer we were working for on the Flats East Bank came to us and said, what would it mean to develop a corporate campus for Eaton on the lakefront? And look at expanding the RTA loop. And our first reaction when they said this was like, who in the world would ever want to do this? Then we started looking at it and started thinking about how it could connect to the Flats East Bank and how it could connect this transit loop that had been vacant and really not being used except for Browns games. Would be really, really an important part of the city, an important part of the Flats East Bank neighborhood. We designed every way we could possibly think about how to connect this campus to the city and to the neighborhood. And what was really unfortunate about it was that our developer didn't end up winning the project. So as we all know, the kind of future of Eaton and where it ended up. Which brings me to my story about Captain America. Actually not at all about Captain America, but about a couple of local developers that had an idea to create a new neighborhood on the lakefront anchored by an LA quality level movie production studio. And the idea was to capitalize on the momentum of the films being filmed here in Cleveland and really use that investment to develop real film infrastructure here. If you're familiar with this piece of land in between the stadium and the lake, in 2013, the city invited developers to submit ideas for what to do with this land, and our team was focused on creating an anchor that would create jobs, creating a cultural corridor on the lakefront, and really providing a meaningful anchor to a neighborhood. That was when the film tax credits were really becoming something that was important to Ohio. There were over 200 films being filmed in Cleveland alone, thanks to the Film Commission. But the issue was we had about $140 million for these movies, and only 20 of it was being realized in Cleveland because we didn't have any back-of-house infrastructure. And then you look at the lakefront. You had, the Rock Hall, the Science Center, and the stadium. But what it was missing was something that really connected all of them. And so this development and the film campus was really meant to be one of those things that could really kind of connect this and create what we were talking about as the lakefront cultural connector. And if you look at the production studios shown in purple there on the right, we really tried to integrate them into the neighborhood, line them with retail. We had a film school that was moving to Cleveland to start a film school partnership with Tri-C. We had a production studio that kind of had really, really amazing infrastructure, one of only 3 places in the world that had the infrastructure, but it didn't go forward. On the left, it was a tower that we were going to do in Cleveland with a Ferrari auto dealership in the base of the building, which really doesn't seem like it means anything at all until you know that there are none of them anywhere in the world. There's 20 of them worldwide, and for Cleveland to have one would have been pretty cool. And so I'm working on all these projects, and these things keep not going forward, and I'm like, what is going on? I felt like I was well, what am I doing here? These projects aren't going anywhere. And what do you say to these projects that are getting away from us? Do you ask them back? Do you kind of lament on this? And really, what I started realizing, personally to me, it was okay that these things didn't work out. I kind of love that I live in a city where people dream big. This was a project that Frank Gehry did for Progressive Insurance. And while it never happened, the developer, Dick Pace, who's currently doing the lakefront, he's the one that came up with this concept. And you can only imagine that it was that experience dreaming big for that project allowed him to think about what the lakefront could be, and he's doing it today. So when I think about all the projects that I've worked on that never got built, I don't let it get me down because I allow it to motivate me to think big and consider each moment along the way kind of an important learning experience that's preparing me for what the future has in store for those of us that are willing to dream big. Thank you very much.